You're listening to E-Commerce Fastlane, episode 43.
Welcome to E-Commerce Fastlane, the podcast show to help you build, launch, grow, and scale a wildly successful e-commerce company. Listen to real conversations with proven practical strategies and success stories. Learn how to generate more traffic, more sales, more profit, and customer lifetime value for your Shopify store. And now, your host and e-commerce entrepreneur, Steve Hutt.
This episode is brought to you by OmniSend, makers of sophisticated omni-channel marketing automation tools for sales-driven Shopify brands and marketers that have outgrown generic email marketing platforms. Engage your customers and boost your e-commerce sales with dynamic emails, text messages, web push notifications, Facebook Messenger, and retargeting ads on Google and Facebook. So it's much more than just email marketing. They handle all of your marketing activities across multiple channels, all from within one platform. They have single-click Shopify integration, which also includes email templates and automatic product import from Shopify. Super easy migration from any other email solution that you might be currently using. And right now, OmniSend is offering a 14-day free trial for all of my listeners, which also includes 50% off for the first 3 months. So check them out, ecommercefastlane.com/OmniSend, and use the coupon code FASTLANE when you sign up. Hey there, it's Steve, and welcome back to the E-Commerce Fastlane podcast. Now, this is your first time listening. This is an e-commerce show where we have honest and transparent conversations about building and thriving online with your store powered by Shopify or Shopify Plus. Now, new episodes are available each week with your favorite podcast player through iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and Spotify. Or you can also sign up online at ecommercefastlane.com and be notified when a new show is being released. On today's episode, I'm chatting with Jill Lillydahl from Inventory Planner. It's an incredible time-saving and money-optimizing solution, I might add, by putting you in charge of your inventory. And it has many modules, really exciting. Things like forecasting, for example. So you can understand replenishment cycles, and it saves an enormous amount of time and money each month by automating your reorder process. It computes the sales forecast for thousands of products in minutes. You can create purchase orders within one click. It saves a ton of time by planning your purchase orders. Send them directly to your suppliers right from within Inventory Planner. You can keep track of all outstanding POs and all your completed purchase orders. It also allows you to invest in the right products. It's all about planning and financial planning. It's really the smart way to find out which product you should purchase for the next season. And really, you can align your financial goals with previous sales to help ensure that you have sufficient stock levels that are available and kind of minimizing your overbuying. Also, what's great too is that it allows you to actually sync both your Shopify store and your Amazon store. So you can combine all of your sales channels in Inventory Planner to really help you with reordering products, based on the overall performance of both the marketplace and on your own website. And last couple things, releases money that's tied up in overstock. We all have products that don't move as well, sizes, colors, just certain SKUs that don't sell well at all. And Inventory Planner really helps you identify these list of products that are, definitely on the list of being effective promotion products. We can help move out some old stock, by adding in more traffic to the site or to those products, creating a discount code, or even some merchandising things higher up in the collection page. And that's all about overstocks. They really help you manage all of that. And last but certainly not least is the analytics component, is the fact that you can now see how your business is growing. You can keep track of all your inventory KPIs, from revenue and profit and turnover and gross margin and so much more. You really can see how fast your inventory is moving and then compare it over time. So if you're fulfilling your orders yourself out of your own warehouse, or you have a 3PL, Inventory Planner is an amazing solution for you to understand exactly what's happening with your inventory and to really help you overall grow and scale. So let's jump into the show and learn more. Well, hi, Jill, and welcome to the show.
Hi, Steve. Thanks for having us on.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you on. I had the opportunity with my clients and my merchants to be able to go into their admins. And I do a lot of app audits. And I just happened to notice Inventory Planner coming up quite a bit with my merchants. And so I thought, okay, if a lot of people are using it, thousands of people have made the decision to use this solution, I've got to have you on to talk about why it is they made that decision to have an inventory planning type solution and a forecasting solution. And let's kind of forget about all these Excel sheets and different things that people are doing, winging it and all that stuff. So I thought, okay, I have to have you on the show. So I'm glad we're able to sync our calendars and have you on today.
Yeah, my pleasure. And I'm actually a former customer and Shopify merchant. So I used Inventory Planner when I was a Shopify merchant. So I can speak for that shopping scenario myself and why I needed it in my life.
That's awesome. So let's talk about Inventory Planner, like more on a high level, and what does it do and what problem does it solve for Shopify store owners?
Sure. So Inventory Planner forecasts customer demand. So we're looking at sales demand, and that can be on a high level, looking at predicted revenue for the next 30 days. You could look at it for a year, all the way down to a variant level. What products do we need to order in order to meet that customer demand?
So some very, so there are lots of algorithms and lots of data science going on here to have that kind of forecasting opportunity available to merchants.
Yes, lots of data going on, lots of different metrics. We have a variety of ways that you can slice and dice the information to look at it. Like I said, on a variant or product level, we could look at it by brand or by supplier, categories within Shopify, import into our system. So you can really look at the performance and the trends within your store to see where you should put resources, whether that's dollars into inventory or marketing attention to see what's trending up in your store as well.
Hence the reasons why people are using the solution. So let's talk about you before we get deep into the solution, but let's talk about your journey so far, kind of leading up to being involved now with Inventory Planner.
Yeah, so I had a series of regular day jobs for a while, and on the side at one point started my own business. My first business was a gourmet popsicle business that I was selling locally. After that, I got into corporate innovation a little bit and then became the CEO of a company called Sit Stay, which is a 20-year-old e-commerce brand, which is just a dinosaur in internet years, 20 years old. But coming into an existing business and looking at sales data, which was great to have data there, but trying to figure out what's happening operationally. We need to tear everything apart, put it back together again. And really a crucial piece of that was when I found Inventory Planner. So we're running this e-commerce business and really have no system for what we should order, how we should order. It really was as simple as wandering around the warehouse and saying, looks like we should order that. I mean, really just no system going on. So obviously we had to do something about that.
Right.
So yeah, that's how I came to Inventory Planner as a customer. And then earlier in 2018, sold Sit Stay, found a great partner to take that brand on. And I just love inventory issues and the data behind it so much and loved Inventory Planner and just asked the team for a job. And fortunately, they said yes. So I've been on the team for a few months now, and it's been great.
Oh, that's awesome. It's so interesting, though, how people have these kind of journeys. And a lot of them I'm finding, too, are in e-commerce to start off with, being an entrepreneur and understanding the ups and downs that go along with building a brand online. And I know Sit Stay, I've just take a quick peek at it now, and I have seen the site in the past. And they even say since 1995, they've been in business. So it's a legacy brand, to be honest with you.
Yeah, definitely. It's such a great brand, and I loved being a professional crazy dog lady. It's more of a recreation for me now, but it was really such a great gig, and I learned so much. As you said, being a merchant is great because you learn the real life aspect to it. So not just what happens in textbooks, but okay, I placed this order from a vendor and guess what? They don't send the right products. They don't send the right amount. That's just real life, and it happens all of the time.
Right.
So you know just sort of the messy side of what really happens in e-commerce.
And you learn by doing. I mean, that's the only way. And you have to have. That's why there's ups and downs. That's why it's this entrepreneurial roller coaster, they call it, for a reason. And we're gonna learn. We're gonna learn more about why maybe Inventory Planner is a great solution for people that are having or may have these sort of experiences. Tell us about it. Like how do you do sales forecasting and how does it help a business?
Sure. So sales forecasting, in my opinion, is really all about cash flow. And I don't know about you, but that's what kept me up nights running an e-commerce business is cash flow.
Right.
So how do you better control that cash flow? How do you have more information about it? And that sales forecasting tells us we have demand for certain products, so we need to have enough inventory to meet that demand. And on the flip side of that, where do we not have that demand? What do we need to clear out that is really just cash sitting on our warehouse shelves, and we need to get it out of here so we can invest that cash into something else, whether it's marketing or the right inventory or salaries or rent, and just get that cash in the right place. So taking a step back, sales forecasting, we're looking at past sales, what your customers are buying, really looking at the sales velocity. Where's that going? What's the rate of sales for your days in stock? So, if you're out of stock, obviously there's no demand. So we're accounting for that. And then really looking at the trends that go along with it. Is it heading up and to the right and you're seeing a spike in sales? And so we need to account for that in the trend line and not just order what we got in the last 30 days, but say, this is really growing. We need to account for that growth as well.
So how about the fashion business? Because I have quite a few merchants that I manage that some are in the fast fashion business, but others are in, kind of more seasonal products. So a personal wish for me is how do you handle that where something will come in very quickly with limited quantities and then it's gone and then something else will replace? It could be seasonal, but it could just be something like one-offs. Like, does Inventory Planner handle that, or does it help you make decisions based on a category of product? Or because I could see maybe if there's brands out there that consistently carry these sort of cables or speakers, or they carry some kind of a consumer packaged good where it's the same thing over and over and over again, but fashion seems to change a lot. So I just was curious on your insights is how Inventory Planner manages that sort of thing.
Yeah, I would say forecasting new products is really a big challenge. And one way that you can deal with that is by looking at the category or looking at attributes of that product that are similar to existing products. So Inventory Planner will allow you to forecast by category if that's what works best for your business, like fast fashion. Right. As you mentioned, forecasting by category can really work well. Another way to do that would be, so you're bringing on a new product that'll have similar sales to an old product. You can actually bring in the sales history of the old product so that you have some data to go on for the new product as well. So there's a couple different ways that we can handle that. Specifically, seasonal products, we can look at that in a couple of different ways where we're looking at so if something's selling well in December, we don't really care what happened in October. We care what happened last December. We want to look at that. And if we can look at the December before, we can see year over year growth as well for seasonal products. So that's another way that we can look at that. And we make that very easy with an Inventory Planner to say this is a seasonal product, whether it is just a spring fashion and it's always going to sell well in the spring and not other times of the year, then we can handle that very easily.
I see. So do you have any other little tips and things that you can share while we're kind of on this kind of forecasting? I wonder what a good forecast actually looks like.
Yes. So I would say one issue that we can help people out with just right off the bat is taking into consideration days when merchants are out of stock. So really get an accurate picture at what the demand is, because we want to see how much could you sell if you were optimally stocked. Whereas if you're not taking into account those out of stock days, you can really underestimate how much you could be selling and taking advantage of that customer demand.
I see.
Another tip that we would pass along in terms of a smart forecast is think about how your store is growing. So safety stock is a really common way to deal with some of those supplier issues that might come up and just kind of account for some margin of error. But one problem with safety stock is if you're saying, okay, I need 5 extra units on hand so that I can account for these problems that come up. Well, if your store doubles in size or is growing rapidly, that 5 units can become really insignificant. So think about your sales velocity. I want to have enough on hand for 30 days. Well, if I need a little margin for error, let's make it 35 days. And that's a dynamic number that's going to grow with your store. So just keep in mind the big picture of the trends that are happening with your store and how that'll impact your forecast as well.
I see. So what about multiple sales sales channels or multiple locations and stuff. A lot of people listening know that it's the age of being a multi-channel retailer. I mean, being on Amazon and being on eBay or Walmart or, obviously on their own store. And there's quite a large audience of people in these marketplaces. Some are FBA, so Amazon's fulfilling it. So you don't have any control over that. But of the inventory that you do have control over with multiple sales channels using this inventory, how does Inventory Planner fit into that whole forecasting model?
With Inventory Planner, you can look at the forecast by sales channel. So you can look at that FBA demand. You can look at the Shopify demand, even for different locations within Shopify. Now that Shopify's enabled the multi-location tracking, which we think is a great development.
It was, yes.
Love it.
Yeah, definitely.
And as merchants will know, and as planners will know, each of those sales channels has a little bit different personality. Things that sell well on one channel don't always sell at the same rate on another channel. So it can be useful to look at the forecast by channel. At the same time, we know that maybe you need to put in a big purchase order from a supplier overseas. And so you want to know what you need for all of your sales channels, and then you can handle domestic transfers once it arrives in your home country. So we have an option for a combined warehouse where you're looking at all of the sales demand. You can take into consideration the stock you have on hand and see what you'll need for all of those sales channels at once, and then see the detail for what needs to go to each one of those as well.
So these reports are generated. So if the lead time from the overseas supplier is, let's call it 45 days by the time it arrives, and then from there, you're able to forecast what your current demand is and what the velocity is that's happening. And then does it help you make better decisions knowing the lead time to receiving your products?
Absolutely. That's a very common scenario where you're looking at very long lead times. Say you're ordering from China, it can be 45 days, 90 days is not uncommon.
Right.
And then once you get it, say to the United States, well, transferring it to an FBA warehouse can just take a couple of days. Maybe you want to allow for a week, which might be generous even. So yes, you can look at that demand. And then we know with FBA selling, you're going to run into some storage fees if you've overstocked the warehouse. So you want to look at that demand and see really how you're going to optimize that and take into account those platform fees and additional fees that come into it when selling on those different channels. So Inventory Planner can give you a really clear look at what your projected profit is for each of those sales channels.
Shopify recently added, I guess, a cost of goods or a landed cost from within the product record. And so how is that affecting Inventory Planner as far as profitability reports?
Yes. So we love that Shopify has added that cost field. And just as a former merchant, I love that they have added that as well.
Right. Okay, awesome.
Big fan.
Right.
So I actually wrote up a blog post about this, just saying now that you have those cost prices available to you in Shopify, what are you going to do with it to increase your profitability?
Right.
So one thing is to think about, now I can see my margins very clearly. Even if I'm not using Inventory Planner or another system, just within Shopify, I can see my profitability much more easily. And I think very importantly is a time for merchants to say, let's work on the business and not just in the business, and take a big picture look, what's selling, what's not working for us, and see which of those variants are really contributing to my overall profitability. And for example, I was just chatting with a merchant yesterday. They were looking at overstock of a product that was contributing to 0.2% of their revenue for the year.
Oh.
Why are you keeping that around?
Yeah.
Get it out of here. Clear out that cash so you can use it in more useful places for your business.
Yeah. I remember speaking with Seller Labs about this, and they're talking about the 80-20 rule. And they're saying that, 80% of your profit is coming from 20% of your SKUs. And I'm sure you can do an 80-20 on the 80-20, and it can really drill down into like, it's almost like with Amazon. Do you truly want to put every single SKU that you own on Amazon when, and you want them to stock?
Right.
No, it's probably not the best. Most cases you do need to be in Amazon just because they're half of the e-commerce market share. We've got a huge audience. It makes sense to be there. Maybe with limited SKUs, if you're in fashion, only certain sizes or certain colors, and people get to know about your brand, and they're more apt to come back to your e-commerce store and buy from you, because then you get to have the email address and you get to remarket them and all that kind of fun stuff. It's very interesting how this whole thing works. And thank you for sharing that, because I think understanding the cost now and then being able to make proper decisions now of not just what's sitting on hand, but what's the value of that? And then how does it impact the overall profitability of the business?
Yeah, it's really about what are you getting for your investment? How quickly can you turn that dollar around? And so if it's not performing for you, don't get stuck on sunk costs. Really think about the future of your business. What can I do with this dollar? How can I turn around that investment fast enough to invest it in something else and continue to grow for my store?
Well, thanks for sharing that. I was thinking too about like suppliers, because we did mention about, coming in from China. I have many merchants that have multiple suppliers that have goods coming in. And I think it's a challenge. I really think it is. So how, other than maybe use an Excel sheet, but how do you handle multiple suppliers through Inventory Planner now?
Yes. So in Inventory Planner, you can set up information by suppliers. So we can customize information like your lead time. So how long will it take you to get your order in after you place your purchase order? Your days of stock, how much do I want to have on hand? But then also all of their contact information. If you have a minimum order budget, if you have to order in case sizes from them, you can put all of that information in. And I think operationally, it's really great to have that in a system somewhere and not just in somebody's head. So I think operationally, it's really nice to get that out there some way, somehow. It obviously makes your ordering a lot easier as well. And then we have additional reporting within Inventory Planner. So for example, if your supplier is telling you we have a 90-day lead time, but in reality, you're getting it in 60 days, we have information so that you can see that. You can adjust your lead time. So that's a nice reality check to say, what's my real lead time? What's happening here when I need to order from this vendor?
So what about the recommendation engine? Or I'm not sure if that's even the right language to use, but will Inventory Planner help me figure out how many days on hand inventory that I want to have, like based on your sales velocity and what's currently on hand and the lead time for stock? Is there some kind of an algorithm that helps you come up with the correct numbers based on demand?
So we'll show you information, including how many more days of stock you have, when you need to order in order to avoid out of stock days with your products, which is really important. We can show you information like forecast lost profit or forecast lost revenue, which I think is both scary and helpful to look at. Again, what's going to be my return on spend for these particular products? What's the opportunity I'm missing out on? If I'm missing out on $50, maybe I can deal with that. But if I'm missing out on $5,000 or $500,000, then obviously that's a higher level of priority to get that going. So we can help with making decisions in a number of different ways with your replenishment.
Okay, that's cool. So we got the profitability figured out. We have the forecasting figured out. The days on hand is kind of figured out. Let's talk about seasonality now then. I have quite a few merchants again that have very seasonal products. And how is that? You briefly touched on it, but just can we dig a little deeper into that?
Absolutely. So seasonality, yes, the forecasting for a seasonal product is obviously very different than a product that sells well and consistently all year round. So one way that Inventory Planner deals with that is very simply changing a setting for even on the variant level and saying these products are seasonal, so maybe they sell well in May and June and September, October. It doesn't just have to be a Black Friday, Cyber Monday kind of issue. It could be any time of the year. And then we'll look at when do those spikes happen and replicate that, mirror that in the coming year to say, we're predicting that you're going to have a spike in the spring again. And so at the appropriate time, that will be factored into the recommendation engine to say, you need to start ordering more products in order to be ready for that sales spike so that you're not, caught unaware of when that's going to happen with your stock.
Oh, I see. Okay, that makes sense. Now, what about from the sourcing side then? And we talked about, once again, many merchants that are importing from China with many different sources. So how does Inventory Planner help in that use case?
Yes. So Chinese New Year could probably be its own podcast episode. There is a lot to dig into
Definitely.
there. There is a lot happening. And anybody who's been through it knows there's a lot happening there. So just right off the bat, if you're new to dealing with Chinese vendors and are unaware of Chinese New Year, definitely look up the exact dates in 2019. It's going to be in February. It's based on a lunar calendar, so it changes every year. And what happens is that Chinese manufacturers really completely shut down for 2 to 4 weeks. And so you need to be prepared for that. And not only do you need to be prepared for that as a merchant, but you need to be prepared that other merchants are also scrambling. And so those factories are cramming in as much production as possible before Chinese New Year starts, but everybody's on the same crunch. And so you need to plan ahead so that you'll definitely have your product and last through that time. That's not your normal lead time for your products. So definitely keep in mind what your supplier's doing as well as what other merchants are doing. Reach out as early as possible to your supplier, be in communication, find out what they're doing, how you can work with them, reserve some dates on their production line. Just be in communication nonstop with them, I would recommend.
Yeah, if you get anything out of this episode, that's a really, really, really good tip. Like, oh man, I can just see the aggravation that can happen and just, the lost revenue of not having stock or placing an order and then they're not shipping for, 2 to 4 weeks on top of the 90-day lead time.
Exactly. Yes. So you're getting through no production for Chinese New Year, but then they need to produce it again. And then you'll see a backlog at the shipping ports. And so it just really piles up and you need to plan ahead and be aware of that happening this year.
So we're nearing the end of the show. Do you have any kind of closing comments or any takeaways that you would like to leave with our listeners?
Yes, I think that sales forecasting can really be a good opportunity for merchants to work on their business and not just in their business, not just in the day-to-day that we all get caught up in, but really take a step back. What's working, what's not? The 80-20 rule that you mentioned, let's look at what's really contributing to my profitability and then get serious about clearing out the stuff that's not. Let's get to the meat of what's really working and honing in on the heart of the business.
That's great advice. And so how can people learn more about Inventory Planner?
Yes, so you can definitely find us in the Shopify App Store. Just type in Inventory Planner and you'll find us. You can also find us on our website at inventory-planner.com. And then I think you'll have a link in the show notes too.
I'm going to ecommercefastlane.com/inventory planner. And that's going to redirect you to a landing page. And just before recording, Jill and I had a chat and been very gracious to offer, first of all, a 14-day free trial. So that's a no-brainer that if you're still using Excel sheets, trying to manage inventory that way by scribbling things down, and you're looking for basically to level up the quality of the reporting you have and the forecasting model you have and the profitability of your brand, it's definitely worth a test, at least for the 14-day free trial, to see what Inventory Planner can do. And then on top of that, if you choose to use the solution that I've been very gracious to offer a 20% discount for the first 3 months of a new subscription. So thank you kindly for that, Jill.
Yes, my pleasure. That's really an offer that we don't have available anywhere else. So this is an exclusive offer for listeners here. And just let us know that you heard about us through e-commerce Fastlane, and we'll set you up with like I said, a free trial. We'll walk you through what's going on in your account and get you going with some smarter information for your e-commerce business.
Well, this is a great way to get your, the Q4 in order, and certainly will help your 2019 forecasting year. So if you're, like I said, if you're currently by hand and or through Excel sheets doing inventory, and it's funny, I was in a store today and I see the people walking around taking inventory and stuff, and it just made me think, hey, I'm talking to Jill today from Inventory Planner. So it just serendipity happened today. Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, Jill, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having us.
This episode was brought to you by OmniSend, makers of sophisticated omni-channel marketing automation tools for sales-driven Shopify brands that have outgrown generic email marketing platforms. Engage your customers and boost your e-commerce sales with dynamic emails, text messages, web push notifications, Facebook Messenger, and retargeting ads on Facebook and Google, all from one platform. Try OmniSend for free for 14 days. Check them out, ecommercefastlane.com/OmniSend, and use the coupon code FASTLANE when you sign up. Well, that's it for today's episode. I'd like to thank you, a loyal listener of e-commerce Fastlane. It's my hope that this podcast is offering you a ton of value through growth strategies, tactics, and exclusive insider tips on the best Shopify apps and marketing platforms, all with my personal goal to help you build, launch, grow, and scale with Shopify. Thanks for investing some time today and listening to the show. I'm so proud and excited that you have a growth mindset and are a constant learner. I truly appreciate you and your entrepreneurial journey. Enjoy the rest of the week and keep thriving with Shopify.